All right, let's cut the crap. Welcome back to the deep dive.
And you better be ready.
Oh, yeah. We are diving headfirst into something truly, truly fucked up today. We are tearing apart every bloody, gut-wrenching minute of Bambi. The Reckoning.
This is not just a review, folks. This is an autopsy. And before we go any further, we need to issue two extremely serious warnings.
Super important. Listen up.
First, due to the explicit graphic content we will be discussing, we're talking details of gore, dismemberment, death, and the language we are absolutely going to be using.
Oh, we are.
This deep dive is strictly for listeners aged 18 and above.
Yeah.
Seriously, if you are a minor, you need to bail out right now. This is raw, unfiltered, and deeply graphic territory.
And second, this is a total mandatory explicit spoiler warning.
Right.
We are discussing every single beat, every kill, and the ending of Bambi. The Reckoning. We are ruining everything.
We mean it. Everything.
So if you haven't seen this chaotic 92-minute creature feature, stop the damn audio immediately. Our mission is to dissect the source material to give you the most well-informed, detailed breakdown possible of this monstrosity.
Our core mission today is to unpack the sources to see exactly how director Dan Allen delivered this blend of creature feature horror and slasher tropes, all while weaving in a remarkably pointed critique of corporate malfeasance.
Yeah, and this film, released in summer 2025, is the fourth entry in what we now know as the Twisted Childhood universe.
The TCU.
And for those of you not already steeped in this deeply weird corner of horror, let's quickly explain the TCU methodology. It's essentially taking classic, gentle, intellectual property.
Like Winnie the Pooh before this one.
Exactly. Once the characters enter the public domain, they weaponize that established, innocent nostalgia for extreme, boundary-pushing horror.
It's taking the things we loved as kids and transforming them into literal engines of slaughter.
And they certainly achieved that here.
Oh, for sure. They took the gentle Disney fawn and transformed it into a hulking, vengeful beast driven by pure environmental rage.
Which is kind of a genius concept.
It is, because Bambi, by his nature, is already a tragic figure.
Yeah.
He's a victim of human cruelty. The film just asks, what happens when the victim finally gets pissed off and develops the vertical means to fight back?
I gotta say, when the core pitch first dropped Bambi as a mutated, vengeful beast driven by grief and environmental rage, my initial reaction was just shock. Like, how the hell do you get from a sweet, wide-eyed deer to this engine of slaughter?
Right. It's the leap.
It feels so conceptually wrong, and yet the execution, according to the sources, is intensely compelling.
The commitment to the concept is what sells it.
Yeah.
Our sources highlight the emphasis on practical effects for Bambi's design, and this is crucial. This wasn't some weightless CGI monster.
Yeah.
This was a tangible, terrifying creation with elongated, jagged antlers, razor teeth, and this absolutely hulking, muscle-bound frame. It's a design that just screams trauma and toxicity.
And they didn't just stop at Bambi either.
No, they introduced mutant sidekicks, killer rabbits, as the secondary threat.
Oh, fuck that noise. We're talking about Thumper and his sisters being warped by the toxins into these creatures. The choice to use practical effects for that level of grotesque detail really grounds the horror in a nauseating way.
It does.
It stops it from feeling like some cartoonish jump scare, and instead makes you feel the impact of the transformation and the sheer physical suffering that led to this reckoning. It lends a sickening weight to the whole production.
It absolutely does. It shows commitment to the physical horror, and that commitment is necessary because we have to start where the trauma began.
The genesis.
Exactly. The grief, the gore, and the genesis of the monster. We begin with the prologue, which is a true desecration of nostalgia.
Okay, let's unpack this opening, because this is where the movie really sticks its middle finger up at our collective childhoods. The sources describe a deliberate manipulation of the original Bambi.
Totally deliberate.
It starts so idyllic. Serene forest, birdsong, Bambi and his mother frolicking in these almost hyper-real, green, cinematic landscapes. You're lulled into this absolute false sense of security, almost expecting a sing-along.
It's classic horror manipulation, but amplified exponentially because every single person watching knows what's coming.
Right.
The familiar tragedy, the shot that changes everything, but this time it's doused in high-definition, unapologetic gore. The mother's death at the hands of the poacher Michael is not quick.
Not at all.
It's described with a graphic, slow-motion blood spray, a high-pressure exit wound, and her body just crumpling in a heap of fur and crimson.
That is such a deeply fucked up way to start. They
Yeah.
take that classic heartbreaking moment, the emotional core of the original film, and just drench it in graphic shit. It's not just an implied death, it's slow motion gore and Bambi's guttural, agonizing wail. The sources emphasize that this is immediate trauma amped up to 11.
That's a statement.
It's almost a manifesto from the filmmakers.
Oh.
We are going to disrespect your childhood memory with maximum violence to make a point.
And that trauma is foundational. Bambi flees, wide-eyed and trembling, haunted, but the story doesn't end there, as it did in the original source material. We have a significant time jump into his adulthood.
Yeah.
The script establishes new stakes very quickly. The audience sees adult Bambi and Falin raising their fawn in peaceful vignettes, establishing a new, fragile ecosystem of love.
And it's all designed to be destroyed.
Purely. This peaceful setup is designed to be destroyed instantly, which sets up the critical dual motivation for his rampage.
Exactly. They establish this new family, this second chance at pastoral bliss, and then, boom, enter the corporate catalyst.
Right.
This is the Wilbexr Pharmaceuticals connection, which elevates the film beyond just a simple revenge flick.
Simon, one of our main human characters, is shown driving the truck that causes the second disaster, spilling barrels of toxic, glowing waste into the river system.
And there it is.
This confirms that Bambi's vengeance is dual-layered. The original, deeply emotional trauma of poaching, overlaid with the secondary industrialized trauma of pollution. And Falin's death is sudden and visceral. She's crushed under the tires of the runaway truck, her body gruesomely mangled and steaming from the chemicals leaking from the ruptured barrels nearby.
Oh, shit. The juxtaposition is brilliant and horrifying. The beautiful pastoral scene, immediately followed by Falin's body steaming from toxic waste, that's just evil filmmaking, man.
It is.
And it works perfectly. It explicitly connects Wilbexr profits directly to the destruction of Bambi's second family. This isn't random violence or bad luck. This is corporate malfeasance driving the horror show. The pollution is an active weapon.
And then comes the mutation.
The real genesis.
The actual physical genesis of the monster.
Yeah.
Devastated, broken by witnessing his second love destroyed by the same species that took his mother, Bambi approaches the spill site. He laps the contaminated water, a deeply symbolic act of consuming the very poison that destroyed his world. The descriptions are intense. He immediately suffers convulsions. His veins bulge with black ichor, his eyes snap from a normal brown to a deep arterial red, and his antlers twist and elongate into grotesque, jagged weapons. He rises as a hulking, undead-like stag, roaring a challenge at the polluted night sky.
Fuck that. He's basically a toxic zombie deer, an avatar of environmental reckoning. The minute he drinks that contaminated water, Bambi, the innocent, tragic figure, dies, and the reckoning begins.
That's it.
It transforms tragedy into something grotesque and horrifying. The contamination doesn't just kill him, it weaponizes his grief through poison. What's absolutely fascinating is how the source material links the physical mutation, the razor teeth, the hulking frame, to the emotional trauma, suggesting the rage is chemically amplified and now unstoppable.
It transforms him from a vulnerable victim into a literal force of mutated nature. He is vengeance given physical form.
A walking apocalypse.
And that brings us directly into the transition to the present-day plot, setting up the human setup and initial bloodshed. We transition from the painful Genesis story to the present day, where our human victims are completely oblivious to the radioactive horror bearing down on them.
So we meet our main human protagonist, Xana, a single mother, and her young son, Benji. They're riding in a taxi, driven by poor, ill-fated Rob, heading to the remote Victorian house owned by Simon.
And the dialogue, even here, is important.
Yeah, the initial banter is crucial. It establishes that family strain, Xana's fierce protectiveness, and the general tension of visiting an estranged, selfish father.
Even before the actual horror starts, the movie builds dread masterfully. They hit a deer silhouette on the road.
Classic.
A classic, pure horror foreshadowing moment. It's the standard horror movie warning sign, the jump scare precursor, that should have had them turning the cab around immediately and heading straight back to civilization.
But then we get the immediate brutal shift to horror with Rob's death. There's no slow burn, no long stock, which is a key pacing choice.
No, it's instant.
Bambi ambushes the cab from the sudden, thick fog and just immediately gores Rob through the windshield in a massive, shattering spray of glass, plastic, and blood.
Yeah.
The sources emphasize the shock of this kill. It establishes Bambi's immediate, overwhelming power. He is not just stalking, he is hunting with focused, lethal, mutated aggression.
That initial cab kill is critical for setting the relentlessly brutal pace. The film tells you right away. The monster is here, he is not playing around, and he is lethal beyond belief.
So Xana and Benji flee on foot.
Arriving at the isolated location, a creaky Victorian house with a thunderstorm cracking overhead, maximizing the sense of isolation and environmental dread. The human vulnerability is immediately established.
Let's talk about the human dynamic inside that house, because it's a standard horror trope, but the sources detail specific, almost archetypal roles intended to be systematically dispatched.
Oh yeah, you can tick them off the list.
Simon's estranged family includes Andrew, who's kind but utterly hapless.
You know he's gonna die.
Oh, for sure. Then Joshua, boisterous and slightly annoying. Harriet, who's nurturing and protective. And Harrison, the snarky comic relief bully.
You're almost rooting for that one to get it.
Almost, yeah. But the truly ominous and intriguing element is Mary, Simon's dementia-afflicted mother. She's the spiritual anchor of this horror.
Totally. She's constantly muttering, Bambi, drawing these eerie deer portraits on the walls, and seemingly aware of an impending environmental collapse that the rest of the family, especially Simon, is completely ignoring.
Mary is basically the literal conscience of the forest, the harbinger of death. She's the one character who seems to instinctively know that the reckoning is coming, even if she can't articulate why or who is coming.
It's a classic horror device to use the mentally unstable character as the truth teller, the prophet whose warnings are just dismissed as gibberish.
Right. And while the family is prepping dinner and the dread is building inside.
The action intercuts to the corporate hunters outside. We meet grizzled veteran Michael, crucially, revealed to be the original poacher from the prologue, along with hothead Tyler and rookie Eddie.
No way.
Oh yeah, they're tracking Bambi for Wilbexr bounties. They haven't connected the dots that they are hunting the physical manifestation of their own crimes?
Ah, the dramatic irony hits hard right there. The guy who created the original trauma, the loss of the mother, is now hunting the mutated result for a corporate payday orchestrated by Wilbexr.
Exactly.
This just deepens the film's critique of greed, showing how the poaching mindset seamlessly transitions into the corporate bounty hunter mindset. It's all about resource exploitation.
And the film makes it damn easy to side against the humans right from the jump, thanks to the hunters' crass, abusive attitude toward nature.
Oh, they're assholes.
Complete asshole.
Yeah.
They're casually blasting pigeons for target practice, described in the source as 6 explode in squibs. They're disrespectful of life, of nature, and everything around them. Their presence poisons the forest even before Bambi starts his rampage.
They're absolute pieces of shit. They talk about corporate bounties, totally dehumanizing the entire situation. But then we get the accidental first kill inside the property, which is a masterstroke of escalating tension.
Yeah, this part is clever.
Joshua, the boisterous family member, steps out for a smoke, and Tyler, the hothead hunter, takes a stray, nervous shot in the fog that hits Joshua square in the chest.
He staggers inside, collapsing in a whitening pool of blood on the polished wooden floor, gurgling pleas for help. What's important here for the pacing is that Bambi didn't even make this kill.
Nope.
This was pure human error, bad luck and bad shooting, fueled by the aggressive, violent environment created by the hunters themselves. It shows that they are capable of self-destruction without the monster's help.
Talk about a shitty, depressing way to die. He's the first on-screen death inside the house, and it's completely unintentional friendly fire, which only ratchets up the panic and the sense of chaotic confusion.
It tells the audience, even without the monster, these people are going to kill each other because of their paranoia and poor judgment.
And that accident, that chaos, is the signal for the real rampage to begin. It takes us right into part 3. Escalation and the rampage of vengeance. The sun has fully set, the storm is raging, Bambi is truly pissed off, and he shifts from being a shadowy presence to an active siege weapon aimed directly at the house.
This is where Bambi's mutations and the practical effects really come into terrifying play. He doesn't just sneak through a window. He rams the exterior repeatedly, splintering the aged Victorian walls like a battering ram, showing phenomenal, unnatural strength.
He's not a deer anymore.
No, he's an unstockable, toxic entity, a walking bulldozer of muscle and bone. Windows shatter under the impact.
And we get that perfect moment of B-movie absurdity amid the siege, which the sources mention.
The doorknob.
Yes. Despite being a hulking siege weapon, there's a brief, hilarious scene where Bambi is awkwardly trying to manipulate a simple doorknob with his giant hoof.
It's just a great little detail.
It's that small, perfect moment of dark humor where the audience remembers, oh yeah, this giant zombie monster is still fundamentally a deer. It momentarily relieves the tension before plunging us back into the gore.
That brief fumble underscores the unnatural state of the monster. He's trapped between Gyr instincts and mutated strength. Unfortunately for Harriet, the nurturing figure.
Poor Harriet.
She investigates the noise, making the classic horror mistake, and pays the ultimate price. The description of her death is incredibly visceral and detailed in the sources.
It's bad.
She's impaled on protruding antlers right through the door. Her screams echo throughout the house as she's dragged into the dark, entrails trailing and stretching behind her like bloody streamers.
The commitment to practical effects shines here. The horror isn't implied or cut away from. It's graphic and immediate, designed to make the audience wince and look away. Harriet is a human pincushion.
Yeah.
The remaining family's only option is a desperate, frantic escape to a nearby old caravan parked out back, piling in amid sobs and total disorganization.
But Bambi is smart. His vengeance isn't blind. As they try to escape, he's already sabotaged their route with a massive fallen log blocking the forest road. Andrew, the hapless brother, is the one who tries to clear it under immense pressure.
And then Benji, panicking and thinking he's helping,
Oh, the kid.
floors the caravan prematurely. Andrew's demise is arguably the most agonizing and drawn out of the first half of the film. He clings desperately to the bumper, but the acceleration is too much. He is dragged and flayed on the asphalt in a gruesome, tearing skid.
The sources describe his skin peeling like roadkill, layer by layer, until he's reduced to raw flesh and broken bones before he finally slips free, silent and lifeless, a trail of viscera marking the caravan's frantic escape.
God, that's brutal.
This kill is a major escalation in brutality, confirming Bambi's capacity for inflicting maximum prolonged suffering.
It's a total shift, right? We went from accidental death with Joshua to a calculated, sharp impalement for Harriet.
And now to this.
And now to this long, agonizing, flaying death. Bambi's brutality is evolving from a necessary killing to inflicting pure, pissed-off suffering. It's revenge that is intensely personal, reflecting the slow, agonizing destruction of his world.
And just when you think the stag is the only thing you have to fear, the spotlight shifts momentarily from the hulking stag to his much smaller, but arguably more horrifying allies.
The mutant rabbits.
The mutant rabbits. This introduces the true body horror element stemming from the contamination.
Oh, God. Harrison, the snarky comic relief bully who probably deserved it, gets separated in the chaos, wandering around with his phone flashlight bobbing, convinced he's safe.
Yeah, it was a mistake.
He's isolated and he's wandering right into the den of truly fucked up body horror.
We are introduced to Thumper, now described not as cute, but as a hulking, fang-mouthed rabbit mutant, and his sisters, a chaotic pack of zombified, contaminated bunnies, all warped by the toxic spill.
They're the real fallout.
These creatures are the literal infectious fallout of the Wilbexr contamination, and they're rabid and hungry. They symbolize the widespread infection of the ecosystem.
And Harrison's death is just pure, messy chaos. He swarmed in a frenzied pile-on. He trips directly into a pile of rabbit scat.
Which is such a gross detail.
A deeply gross detail. Then he's mauled limb by limb. His high-pitched screams turn to gurgles as fur, teeth, and blood mix in the darkness. That's some truly fucked up body horror, courtesy of Thumper and his pack.
The sources emphasize the terrifying effectiveness of the pack. It's a messy, rabid kill, and almost insectile consumption. And this is a key detail. The sources attribute a staggering 48 kills to those rabbits alone throughout the film.
48.
48, mostly picking off stragglers and hunters later on. This reinforces the idea that the pollution created not just one monster, but an entire uncontrollable ecosystem of vengeance.
The rabbits represent the infectious, widespread nature of the environmental disaster. They are the uncontrollable collateral damage that turns around and delivers lethal justice. While Xana, Benji, and Mary ditch the failing caravan, they hear Harrison's distant yells fade into silence, cementing the horrifying sense that no corner of this poison forest is safe.
Which brings us to the crucial thematic core.
Confession, irony, and final reckoning. The remaining trio stumbles into Michael, the original poacher, who leads them to a camouflage den, an abandoned Wilbexr outpost.
The irony is just
Soaking the scene, they're running toward the people who started all this shit, hoping for safety.
inside this grimy Wilbexr den, they find Simon, Benji's estranged, royally selfish father, and his coworker Joe, who is established as the tough, pragmatic survivor.
And here comes the truth.
This is the moment the narrative has been building toward. The full, sickening confession that ties the human corporate element directly to the monster's motivation.
Simon finally drops the bomb. He admits driving the truck that killed Faline and dumped the toxins, motivated entirely by Wilbexr profit.
And it wasn't just a one-time thing.
No, the sources imply Wilbexr uses this remote area as an illegal dumping ground due to the high cost of proper disposal, maximizing their quarterly returns.
And Simon's delivery is key. The sources emphasize his sneering arrogance when he dismisses the destruction of the environment. His exact phrasing, "the forest was collateral," is a piece of corporate jargon that weaponizes apathy.
It reframes a heinous environmental crime as a simple business expense. It's just bullshit.
Total bullshit.
This is where the environmental critique hits the hardest, transcending the genre. It stops being just a creature feature and becomes a pointed indictment of corporate entitlement and greed.
Simon is the personification of that.
He's the personification of that toxic entitlement. This greedy piece of shit only cares about his bottom line, and he actively destroyed an entire family ecosystem for a payout. There is absolutely no redemption or remorse in his dialogue.
The film demands his demise.
Yeah.
The audience wants this guy dead, not just killed, but consumed by the consequences of his actions.
Oh, for sure. But before Simon gets his due, Benji, Xana's young son, has his own hero moment.
Right, which is important.
It shows the innocent side of humanity. He sneaks to a side garage, finds Bambi's caged offspring, starved, whimpering, another innocent victim of Wilbexr's presence, and frees it.
The release of the fawn is a small beacon of hope. It signals that redemption is possible, that the monster's heart still exists even amid the slaughter. It sets up the critical climax.
The emotional turning point that will save the survivors. But first,
the slaughter must continue.
Focusing on the human perpetrators, Bambi infiltrates the den and unleashes hell on the remaining hunters.
Tyler, the hothead who accidentally killed Joshua, is the first to go. His head is antler smashed against a wall, described as a sickening wet decapitation splash.
Jesus.
Eddie is next, gutted mid-scream, his intestines uncoiling like thick bloody ropes. This is peak slasher gore, but magnified by Bambi's monstrous practical effect menace and the sheer force behind his movements.
Michael, the original poacher, manages to escape, firing wildly but uselessly. But Joe, the tough survivor who has witnessed too much, makes a powerful sacrificial stand.
A truly badass moment.
She confronts Bambi, grabs a jerrycan, douses herself in fuel, and ignites, essentially trying to turn herself into a fiery roadblock to save the others.
What's horrifying is the utter futility of her sacrifice. Bambi is beyond human pain. He doesn't even flinch at the flames. The toxic mutation seems to protect him.
Fuck that.
He tramples through the fire unscathed, goring her mid-leap. Her charred body slumps against the wall. It's a powerful, devastating image. Human resistance, even self-sacrifice, cannot stop this mutated, industrialized force of nature.
It's the moment the film declares the monster is not just stronger, but fundamentally operates on a different, more powerful level of existence. And now, for the central moral payoff of the film.
Poetic justice for Simon.
The corporate shill.
He bolts cowardly into the undergrowth, attempting to escape his fate. Even in his terror, he continues ranting about containing the asset and liability control.
Unbelievable.
Even facing imminent bloody death, his corporate jargon persists, showing his complete moral detachment.
He deserves absolutely everything that's coming to him. He's running right into the arms of his own consequences.
Thumper's pack descends on him immediately, tearing his flesh in a writhing, chaotic mass of fur and razor teeth.
Good.
The sources use gruesome detail. His eyes gouged out, his throat ripped open, his pathetic pleas, "I'm the father, I'm the owner of this land," mixed with the horrible chittering and chewing of the rabbits.
This moment serves as the film's moral, thematic climax. Simon is reduced to a bloody skeleton by the victims, the toxic rabbits created by his own corporate pollution.
Bullshit profit motives led him right to that rabbit shit pile.
Yeah.
The animals that were most warped and twisted by the toxic spill are the ones who consume the source of the spill.
Perfect, horrific environmental irony.
If you're looking for a definitive visual representation of nature fighting back against industrial waste, this scene is it.
Okay, so the immediate vengeance is achieved. The two primary antagonists, the corporate shill Simon and the poacher Michael, who's still wandering, are isolated, and Simon is literally eaten. That brings us to Fragile Peace and TCU Legacy, the conclusion of the immediate rampage. We get a brief emotional respite in the chaos.
Xana and Benji, carrying the rescued fawn, lure Bambi to a moonlit clearing. Bambi charges, driven by lingering rage, but halts instantly at the sight of his offspring.
And this is the first time the monster's rage is explicitly challenged and subdued by primal love and parental instinct.
He halts, sniffing and gently nuzzling his fawn. The sources describe a visible shift. His rage ebbs, his eyes soften from the demonic red of mutation and vengeance back to a warm, if slightly shadowed, amber.
It's a rare moment of genuine tenderness and parental grief overriding the contamination. It reminds the audience that the monster is still, at its core, a grieving, broken father.
And then Mary, the silent conscience of the forest, intervenes one last time. She is lucid for the first time in the film, speaking clearly. She whispers, "Go home."
And blessing.
She acts as the spiritual link, confirming that the forest itself acknowledges the temporary peace Bambi has found and the debt has been paid.
But we can't have peace without one last bloody confrontation to tie off the original sin. Michael, the original poacher, bursts back into the clearing, rifle blazing, determined to claim his bounty.
He just can't let it go.
He riddles Bambi's flank with bullets, black ichor spraying, confirming the toxic, unnatural nature of his blood and body.
And Bambi, despite his size and unnatural strength, finally collapses. But justice isn't done by the monster this time. It's done by the human representative of innocence and age.
Mary gets her moment.
Mary, enraged by this final, unforgivable act of poaching, grabs a hidden shotgun, pumping rounds directly into Michael's chest. He topples, gurgling final confessions about the original crime.
This moment is so heavy with symbolism. The two main antagonists, corporate greed, Simon, consumed by the consequence,
And poaching, Michael, killed by the moral guardian.
are dealt with by the two figures of pure nature and innocence. Bambi's mutated force and Mary's desperate spiritual intervention. It's heavily symbolic, extremely gory, and provides a clean sense of finality to the human cycle of abuse.
Bambi bleeds out slowly, the toxic ichor seeping into the earth, locking eyes with Xana and Benji in a silent moment of gratitude before finally expiring.
And the film gives you the numbers.
It does. It provides a grim toll montage. 96 human lives claimed by Bambi, 48 by the rabbits. A staggering 144 deaths caused ultimately by human recklessness and environmental degradation.
The survivors limp from the woods at dawn. Xana, Benji, Mary, and the fawn. It's a moment of fragile peace. Benji asks Xana if the bad beer is gone.
And her line is the whole theme of the movie.
It is. Her deeply thematic reply, "He was never bad, just broken," provides the perfect thematic conclusion. The monster was a tragic consequence, an effect of pollution and abuse, not an entity of inherent evil.
Mary achieves her final symbolic purge, burning her unsettling deer drawings, suggesting closure for her trauma and the forest's immediate pain. But the film, as part of the TCU, has to tease the legacy.
Of course.
The fawn bounds ahead, suggesting the lineage, the trauma, and the possibility of future crossovers continue.
But the truly pissed-off, terrifying ending comes in the stinger.
The stinger.
We roll credits over echoing howls and quiet dread, only for a distant truck to appear on screen, spilling more toxic waste onto the forest floor.
It never ends.
This is the film saying, this one reckoning is over, but the abuse isn't.
That stinger connects the entire film back to the cyclical nature of environmental abuse. Human recklessness continues. Therefore, the reckoning is never truly over. It provides a final, cynical punch to the gut and validates the movie's central, bloody thesis.
So let's wrap this deeply fucked up journey up with our final critique and takeaways. If we sum up the tone, it was relentless pacing, incredibly gory set pieces, mixing truly tragic, potent themes with moments of pure B-movie camp.
The sources acknowledged the pacing and visceral impact, but they also highlighted legitimate criticisms. While the environmental messaging was strong, the human character arcs beyond Xana and Simon were admittedly thin.
Which is common in slashers.
Very common in slasher movies where the monster is the real star. They were designed to be disposable cannon fodder, symbolizing how easily humanity is erased by its own negligence.
But let's be honest, you have to expect a little bit of cheese when you're watching a movie about a toxic zombie deer. The film, if you can look past the heavy-handed exposition and lore-dumping nature that comes with being the fourth entry in an established, ridiculous universe.
It absolutely works as a solid creature entry.
It does.
It works because of the sheer bloody commitment to the environmental horror themes and the visceral impact provided by those practical effects. It's a B-movie with a genuinely pissed-off, potent message about pollution and greed.
It took the most innocent source material, Bambi, and weaponized it to deliver a profound, if extremely bloody, critique of industrial society.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? This deep dive was your shortcut to understanding how classic IP can be creatively used to deliver surprisingly potent environmental horror, using gore as the absolute punchline.
You now know every single detail.
Every character and every horrible death, and more importantly, the thematic meaning behind the slaughter.
We detailed 144 human lives lost, all directly traced back to corporate profit motives and the original trauma of poaching. The film successfully links industrial waste to the creation of a vengeful mythical creature.
That brings us to our final provocative thought. If the consequence of Simon and Wilbexr's actions was a hulking, antler-wielding, toxic monster, a physical, impossible entity, what is the real-world environmental debt we are accumulating right now with industrial waste and climate destruction that will inevitably lead to a future reckoning we can't shoot down?
That's the question.
We might think this is just a movie, but the message that nature gets fucked up and will eventually fight back is pretty terrifying shit we should all be mulling over.
A sobering thought to end on, especially after wading through the chaos of the reckoning.
We'll catch you next time, and for God's sake, maybe invest in some non-toxic waste disposal. And certainly, stop littering.